Prioritisation and sequencing are two of the most important aspects of project portfolio management. Prioritisation identifies your most valuable and important projects so that you can give them appropriate focus and attention. Sequencing ensures that you work within resource constraints, take into account inter-project dependencies, meet any regulatory compliance dates, and achieve benefits as soon as possible. The commercial off-the-shelf tools that, to varying degrees, provide functionality that supports prioritization and sequencing typically cost many thousands of dollars in software licenses and professional services. However, the prioritization and sequencing tool that I will now demonstrate provides excellent functionality and is one of several free downloads provided when you enroll in the Project Portfolio Management Essentials online course. The tool supports prioritization using both discounted cash flow and multiple qualitative criteria such as each project's degree of alignment with strategic drivers. So let's get started. In order to prioritize using discounted cash flow, you will first need to complete financial statements for the projects to be evaluated. There are 16 projects in the tool for illustrative purposes. However, it is easily scalable to support 100 or more projects. Enter project costs in the yellow cells under capital costs against the relevant categories, forecast by year. Labour costs can be calculated based on a breakdown as illustrated. Then enter project benefits under operating impact, again against the relevant categories and forecast by year. Note that if the project results in a reduction of employment costs, then this should be represented as a negative number. You will notice that the financial statement contains various assumptions regarding depreciation, amortization, tax rate, and discount rate. These are each involved in the calculation of financial return metrics and can be adjusted as required. For example, if the company's tax rate changes, or your organization changes its policy on discounting future cash flows. Once you have done this, the dashboard will automatically populate with 4 financial metrics for each project: net present value, or NPV, internal rate of return, or IRR, payback period using cash, and payback period using NPV. In order to prioritize using multiple qualitative criteria, you first need to set the parameters to be used and their relative weightings. There are 5 criteria set up in the tool for illustrative purposes. However, it is easy to change or add to these. Weightings are derived by comparing criteria 2 at a time using the weighting parameters to assess their relative importance. For example, I've assessed operational excellence as a lot more important than growth, a bit more important than business transformation, a lot more important than employer of choice, and a lot more important than number 1 in customer service. However, the answers really are up to you and depend on your organization's strategic priorities. You may decide to do this weighting exercise with a group of senior executives in a workshop setting. Once you have determined weightings for the different prioritization criteria, you can begin assessing each project against the set of criteria. For example, I have assessed infrastructure integration as making a high contribution to operational excellence, negligible contribution to growth, very high contribution to business transformation, and medium contribution to both employer of choice and number 1 in customer service. Once you have assessed all of the projects, the dashboard will automatically populate with the scores for each project. You now have 4 financial metrics and a multi-attribute score to compare projects against and to make priority calls. For example, you could sort projects from highest to lowest NPV, shortest to longest payback period, highest to lowest multi-attribute score, or some combination thereof. You could also use IRR to exclude projects that don't meet your organization's investment hurdle rates. Once you have arrived at a final ranked list, it's time to work out a high-level sequencing for executing the projects in your portfolio. To do this, you need a sequencing logic or sequencing policy. For example, you might sequence regulatory compliance projects first, then discretionary projects in order of rank but subject to direct dependencies next. Whatever your approach, the tool allows you to monitor resource demand and work within resource availability as you set down start dates for each project. This allows you to see resource bottlenecks ahead of time and adjust accordingly. To sequence projects and to observe the resource availability impacts of each project, simply place the letter Y in the relevant months that you would like the project to run. Based on the resource demand for each project, the tool will calculate impact on resource availability in your resource pool based on the resource type. Ultimately, you will arrive at a time-phased view of your portfolio that delivers the most important projects as early as possible, meets regulatory compliance imperatives, takes into account interdependencies between projects, and does not overload critical resources. To get this tool now, or for more information and many other valuable portfolio management tools, visit www.udemy.com/Project Portfolio Management Essentials.